What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Of course, later on today, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, we have the Nintendo Direct. I'll be streaming it here. We should have some fun, see some cool surprises, because again, not everything else has leaked out. Actually, very little of the Direct is technically out there. Okay, maybe new Super Mario Bros., but at this point, we've all accepted that's coming out. There's a lot more stuff out there, and it's going to be a lot of fun, so make sure you come on by. I think we'll go live like 20 minutes or so before the Direct starts. So around 5:40 p.m. Eastern, just at 2:40 p.m. Pacific time, we'll go live, we'll watch it, have some fun, and hopefully see some cool stuff get announced. I keep seeing Animal Crossing, so you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say, let's get Animal Crossing out there. Let's just get it out there for everybody who wants it at this point, hopefully. So today, though, we have a bunch of stuff to go over. We have to talk a bit about Nintendo's online service, since they put out an email that seems to be confusing a lot of people, and honestly, Nintendo didn't really do the best job explaining it anyway. So we're going to kind of break that down and just try to make a bit of sense as to what they're talking about when they say you're going to lock your online account to your user account, and the reason why they would be doing that. We also have to look at the Media Create sales charts, because Spider-Man absolutely demolished those charts, especially when compared to God of War. First, though, let's get into some of the quick news, starting with an update to that Halo 5 possibly being teased for PC with that box art shot. No, it doesn't look like it's actually happening. A Microsoft representative actually got in contact with CNET, and they simply said, no, we have no plans currently to bring Halo 5 to the PC. It just seems like they updated the cover art to that title, that little subheading of Xbox One console exclusive, just because, I don't know, maybe they're just making updates and they just uploaded a new cover art and they use that now a lot. I'm not sure. There's not a ton of only Xbox games. Seriously, Halo is like it next to that in Sunset Overdrive, so I guess that's just what they're using now for all of their box arts, and since there's only like 2 games now, 3 games, the Master Chief Collection, Halo 5 Master Chief Collection, Sunset Overdrive, that are specifically only on the Xbox, maybe it's not worth printing up that many cover arts just for that, you know? Also, if you've missed it, Forza Horizon 4's demo came out. You can actually download it on the Xbox and PC actually right now. So if you want to see how your PC holds up, they seem to have like an ultra low, I guess, settings mode, so it'll play on very slower machines, I guess. I mean, you still need a video card and everything, I assume. I don't know how integrated graphics or anything like HD 5000 or whatever will work with it, but if you have like even an older, like a GTX 750 Ti or something, apparently you can still play it okay if the turn settings down. But this is a game that is heavily optimized, and I played it on the Xbox One X, and the game looks awesome. I was racing around with it. They do this cool transition between like seasons, and yeah, it looks pretty cool. It's a lot of fun to play so far in the demo. I'm going to be picking this up on Game Pass, of course, because, well, I have Game Pass, so I'll just download it when it comes out. So if you have Game Pass, you can look forward to it. That's actually right at the beginning of October. It'll be coming out. You can download it there. Or, of course, if you're really big into the Forza series, you can go out and just pick it up or download it on the shop and just have it straight up without having to worry about a subscription to Game Pass. Oh, and check this out. A very odd, out of left field announcement, I guess, for the Switch for a game. Do you remember Oddworld Stranger's Wrath back on the original Xbox? I actually remember playing this. It came out like towards the end of the original Xbox's life, because it came out in 2005, and of course at the end of 2005 the 360 came out, and that was a very short life cycle, by the way. The original Xbox was really only in the spotlight for Microsoft as their main console for like 4 years. We talk about like 7 or 8 year cycles now. It's 4 years, and that was out at that point. But Stranger's Wrath was actually a pretty cool game, and I remember specifically because Oddworld was like the 2D, and then they had Munch's Odyssey, and that was kind of 3D. But this was like a shooter, essentially, and it was cool because you'd grab ammo and stuff, and they were like creatures, and you'd put them in your gun, and they'd like look around at you and stuff. But it was actually a pretty cool idea. It's coming to the Switch, though. They announced it on Twitter. Now, of course, this isn't, I guess, crazy, as they even moved it to like the Vita. They moved it to cell phones, I think. I know it was on the PS3 because I remember checking it out there as well. So it's made the rounds, and it looks like it's going to the Switch. So we don't have a date or anything, but it looks like we'll probably be getting videos of gameplay, probably trailers, and of course, at Directs later on today, maybe it'll just kind of pop in and say Stranger's Wrath is available, you know, next month or something. We'll see. All right, guys, some of the quick news out of the way. Let's jump into some of the bigger stuff, specifically this Nintendo Direct, Nintendo Online stuff. Of course, the Directs later on today, but the Nintendo Online service that is very odd because we didn't really know a lot about it. We still, I guess we'll find out more with this direct later on today, but it almost seems like it's coming down to the wire and they're starting to give us dates now. We know when it's coming out. It's actually coming out next week. And they're starting to tell us about, I guess, a little fine print that we have about a week to get ready for. I mean, they told us a week in advance. It's really not a big deal. It's not really going to affect too much, but let's talk a bit about what's going to happen here. So next week there will be maintenance. They put this out on Twitter, as you're seeing, and they're saying in preparation for the upcoming Nintendo Switch Online launch, Nintendo Switch eShop is scheduled for maintenance starting at 5 p.m. Pacific on 9/18, so September 18th. It will be unavailable for up to 3 hours. So this is a big update. It's not like a little update. That's going to be on Tuesday, and then of course the Nintendo Switch will get the firmware. Then it's going to actually update to firmware 6.0.0, and that's going to happen September 18th. That's going to happen at 8 p.m. And that's 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. And after that, they start sending out an email to, I guess, everyone who's been signed up for the service in general. You remember we had to make a Nintendo ID, online ID and everything for their network. And they sent out this email here stating, on 9/18, your Nintendo Switch will be receiving a system update version 6.0.0. Afterwards, it will no longer be possible to unlink your Nintendo account from your Nintendo Switch user profile. Prior to this change, you should verify that your Nintendo account or your child's Nintendo account is linked to the correct user profile. By ensuring that your Nintendo account is linked to the correct user profile, you will be able to appropriately manage your save data, Nintendo Switch Online membership, and Nintendo eShop content. So before this, so I guess now technically, you didn't have to have it pretty much set in stone, right? You could technically unlink your Nintendo ID from your user account, and we would actually go from region to region with our user accounts to download stuff from their eShop. In fact, I'm curious how this will affect that ability. Like, can I still use another user account to access, I guess, an eShop in, say, Japan, so Japan's eShop, and not affect my membership with another user account, or didn't have another whole other membership for that? That's something I'm a bit curious about, which I guess we'll find out after next week when this takes place. But this really sent people kind of scrambling a bit, a little confused. People weren't really sure what this meant. Essentially, you of course have your user account on your Switch that manages your save data, right? I mean, that's usually you'll sign in, you start up your Switch, you can pick from a bunch of different user profiles, and your save data is on that user profile. That way, if like your friend, your brother, your significant others, your sister, whoever, picks up the Switch and they pick their account, they won't mess with your save data with your account. So that's how we have that split up. But then, of course, you also had to sign up for a Nintendo ID for the network. So you had to do that. And then, of course, you would use that to sign in to the eShop. Now they want to pretty much merge them because your save data is going to be able to be backed up to the cloud for the most part. Of course, there are a few exceptions, but the idea is your save data can move from your user account to your network account that has your cloud save container, essentially. So they're trying to manage that all up. It seems like their purchases will be tracked as well, which a lot of people don't know this. I actually went through this, of course, with the Switch that bricked and everything, and I was in trouble with that. You actually still have to call Nintendo anyway to move your purchases over. I'm gonna be curious if this pretty much eliminates the need for that. Like, you sign in with your overall user account, which will be one and the same with your online account. Will your purchases follow that? Because I had to call them, and it was a whole thing. It took longer than it should have, to be honest, to get your licenses moved from your dead Switch that you cannot access anymore to your new Switch that you just bought. It was a bit of a process, but I still had to call them anyway. So I don't think this is going to put more steps in the way of, like, if you do sell your Switch or you get rid of it and you want to get another one later, you'll still probably have to call them. But I am curious if there is that small chance that this makes it so that if you sign into another Switch, you can then start downloading your purchases like you would if you didn't have to do that. Like if you didn't have to call or anything, Although, to be fair, with the PS4, I kind of have to do the same thing. The Xbox has something similar when it comes to transferring licensing around. So that's not like that's exclusive to the Switch. It's more so to keep it so you're not, just walking around firing up switches, putting your account information on there, and then they have the full game that you bought. That's more to protect it and make it so that essentially game sharing and piracy doesn't take place like rampantly. So it seems with this email, Nintendo is just trying to prep people saying, hey, just make sure you have your online linked to the right user profile, because apparently after this update, they're merged, and that's it. I don't think there's any way to unlink them for what they're saying, but, when I sign in on my Xbox, that's my online account anyway, so it's pretty much the same there as well. This is actually merging everything together and kind of bringing Nintendo up to the times, technically, when it comes to this. So I guess look at it that way. Like I said, if I sign into my Xbox user ID, that is my online account as well, and I can't rip them apart. Everything is just meant to follow it around. I think this is just to really bring that online service in. So make sure you have your right user ID set up, because after that, they're stuck together. They give us a week in advance, I guess. I guess I would have liked a little longer, but it's not terribly difficult to go in. And honestly, most of you, it probably won't affect any of you anyway, because you probably have your own user account set up with all of your saved data, and then your ID for online, you probably don't even realize they're separate anyway right now, so you're probably fine, but just a heads up. Next up, let's talk about that Intellivision system. You remember how we talked about this months and months ago, about how Intellivision was apparently coming back with a new system of some kind? We kind of heard a bit from them that it was going to be more or less for like 2D indie style games. They're being pretty straightforward with us, pretty upfront. Like the Atari box is, who knows what that is? I have a better idea of what they're trying to do with the Intellivision, more of like I guess more of an indie box style, family-friendly system, according to them. And we were supposed to find out information October 1st. They're kind of changing it a bit here. It's going to actually be October 20th when they go to the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, which is very big for retro fans. Trust me, you probably know about that convention. It is a pretty big one, and a lot of people come together for that. It makes sense for them to bring something like a new Intellivision system there, where most people, compared to any other place, will recognize the name Intellivision and will probably be interested in what they have to offer and what they're going to show. I bring this up because I am curious about what this is going to be exactly, and I'll be keeping an eye on it. I will keep you guys up to date on it, so if they show up with something really cool, we'll kind of talk about it here either way, and I'll probably end up getting one anyway down the road so we can check it out, maybe even take it apart. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see, not really like not like a massive, it's not going to be like a Nintendo Switch or an Xbox One or something showing up. I guess not even like an Atari box, because even Atari box doesn't really know what they are. This is definitely more for retro game fans, indie fans, things like that. And our last bit of news, let's talk about the Media Crate sales in Japan. These, of course, are the physical sales in Japan every week. We get a look at how things are doing, how they're trending, and how new game releases do over there. And we get to see how Spider-Man does here in its first week. And I was very curious how it would do in Japan, and it looks like it did pretty well, especially since we're going to be comparing this to God of War, since God of War was the other big release of the year for Sony that was really massive. Remember, that was like Sony's best-selling IP, PlayStation-specific IP ever. But Spider-Man continues to outperform it. It's done so far in the UK, and it's doing so here in Japan by quite a bit. Remember, it was like almost double in the UK. It's almost triple here in Japan. Let's take a look at the top 10, starting, of course, with Spider-Man topping the charts at number 1. 125,154 physical copies sold in Japan. That is very big. It's pretty cool to see that. Number 2 was Winning 11 2019, 20,840. So a very large drop off, as you'd expect for a game like a big game like Spider-Man showing up there. From the 1 to the 2 spot, about 105,000 units difference there. Zone of the Enders, second runner, Mars. That's the Zone of the Enders they did, the second runner, and then also has VR support, which is kind of cool for the PS4. 17,313. Minecraft on Nintendo Switch, Splatoon 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, SNK Heroines on the PS4, which, by the way, SNK Heroines on the PS4 outsold the Nintendo Switch version by almost double, actually. It was very close to that. So that was a day-and-date release that did better there on the PS4. Remember, we talked about One's Justice doing better on the Switch. It's a bit reversed here for SNK Heroines. And then Conan Exiles number 8. The Taiko Drum and Fun, number 9 for the Switch. Then The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is at number 10. Moving over to hardware sales, Nintendo Switch at the top, 43,513. The PlayStation 4 did move up a bit, a little over 3,000 units to 19,723. But you can see even with like a big, release like Spider-Man, still trails behind the Nintendo Switch by quite a bit. It's still selling less than half of which the Switch is selling, even with a big release like a Spider-Man. The 3DS below that, 7,483. The Vita, 2,348, still sticking in there. I gotta give them credit. And the Xbox One manages somehow to drop from 69, actually down to 49, but they are getting within 1,000 units of 100,000 lifetime to date in Japan. So we see Spider-Man top the charts. How did it do and compare to God of War's first 2 days? Because of course it released on Friday, so Friday and Saturday. God of War did 46,000 in its first 2 days. Spider-Man does 125,000. So yeah, almost triple essentially. It's very close. It's a little less than that, but we see it in the UK doubling up on God of War. We see it here almost tripling up in Japan. And now we wait to see how it did in the US against God of War and the NPDs. I have a feeling Spider-Man is going to end up outselling God of War, which is very impressive because God of War was already a massive seller. Spider-Man's going to outdo it. So I'm expecting Sony to come out soon-ish and pretty much say something about Spider-Man's numbers, because remember, they did that for God of War where they came out and they're like 3.2 million or something rapidly in like a week or two or something crazy. Expect Spider-Man to top that. Seriously, Spider-Man is killing it right now. I think the teen rating, the recognizable superhero, obviously, and people really wanted a great Spider-Man game, and hey, this is it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys hit the like button if you liked the video. Dislike it if not. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it's Nintendo's online service, them pretty much fusing your accounts together, and it was a weird, confusing thing going on last night. Hopefully that at least gives you some idea of what they're doing here. Then, of course, what do you think about the Nintendo Direct later on today? What do you think they're going to show? And then what do you think about Spider-Man? Do you think the sales match up to the quality of the game? Because I see a lot of people enjoying it. A lot of people definitely bought it. So let me know your thoughts about that as well. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.